Romans 12:2 simply says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So in order for your change to come, you have to change your way of thinking. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Tell me, are you ready for your change to come? Do you think you can go through the fire? Do you think you can weather the storm? Do you think you can press through your trials? Are you ready for your change to come? Do you think you can pray when you're down and out? Do you think you can give when your funds are low? Do you think you can trust him to bring you out? Are you ready for your change to come? Are you ready?
Welcome back to Be the Ram Live. This is webinar number 5. I'm Anthony McKissick Sr., Coach Mac, Reverend Run and Shoot. Today we have a special guest, Laura Ebanks. This is Laura Ebanks, and the topic of today's webinar is Your Boaz. I met Laura, we worked together at a high school in Georgia here, and she was the secretary in the front office, and I always seen her giving out books and just mentoring young ladies, so I thought that she had a story. Finally, my wife and I, we sat down and we spoke with her, and we found out that she had a great story, so I think she's a prime candidate to give her testimony today. If you don't know what Be the Ram is, it's a spinoff of Abraham. When he took Isaac to the mountain, there was a ram in the bush. That ram is what was the sacrifice in place of Isaac. So what we're doing here as being the ram, we're being that thing as a sacrifice in place of something that will save someone's life. So we're hoping that these testimonies will be what saves someone else's life. So when we talk about being the ram, we really just talk about being that help that someone thought that they would never have. Start off with a prayer, as we always do. God, thank you for giving us this opportunity. Thank you for this wonderful day. We thank you for all those viewers who will be touched by this webinar, and we just ask you to just put a special blessing on it. Only you know where it's going to go, and we just trust you in the midst of it. Amen.
Amen.
So Laura,
Yes,
could you
sir.
kind of give us a background of your testimony? The title is Your Boaz, in case you didn't catch that. So you know it has something to do with Boaz. So if you've been looking for a Boaz, wondering how to get a Boaz, how to keep a Boaz, this is the webinar for you. So give us a little bit of a background on your history and things that you think that we need to know, and just take it from there.
Okay. Well, to start off, I'd like to start with a scripture, and it is Psalms 37 verses 4 and 5. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Now, for me, that it was love. I was always looking to be loved, and I also wanted to give someone special love. But the problem or the issue was that I wasn't going about it in the way that I would say God would want me to. And when I say that, I mean I wasn't listening to my parents. I wasn't listening to close friends and family members who probably knew me better than myself at the time. I am, I guess you could say, the daughter of Wilbert and Darcy Ebanks. Together they have 6 children, and I was the first to graduate high school. I was also, not to put anyone out there, but being honest, the first who didn't get pregnant in high school. I focused, I studied, I did what I had to do. I had a great GPA. I got accepted to the local community college and was going to continue and get my bachelor's in mass communications. But in starting my college career, I thought I fell in love. I was on an internship with Disney. Yes, I did say Disney, the household name. Wow. Yes.
So were you the oldest of these 6, or were you the youngest?
I was the 4th. Okay. I am the 4th.
So I'm the 4th. Younger end, and you were still the first to graduate and the first not to get pregnant in high school.
That is correct. So my parents had high expectations of me. Very, very high expectations. Like I said, I was accepted into an internship program through the Disney College program. So I was working at Disney World at the time. Things was great. I was going to college, getting my degree. I was, going to continue, like I said, at a big university, and everything was perfect. But like I said, also, I wanted love, and I thought I fell in love. Online, met this guy. Online.
Wow. Was it like Black Planet back then, or was it?
It was MySpace.
MySpace. Wow. The one after Black Planet.
Right. There you go. Fell in love, or at least I thought I fell in love. And we had a long distance relationship for about a year. I stayed in Disney. He was where he was. And I decided once I got my degree, my associates, I was going to move out into the world and follow this man, because I wanted my relationship to grow. I wasn't so concerned with my education anymore and my future in communications. I fell in love. So I moved to where he was, against my parents, against my friends, my family, everyone who knew me, against what they felt and what they probably knew within themselves, because they had watched our relationship and watched us be very argumentative towards each other, watched us call each other out of our names, watched us just fight back and forth. If I went somewhere, I had to be on the phone with him constantly because he didn't trust me. And these are some things that you all should look out for when going for your Boaz, as they say. Boaz is not going to want you to stay on the phone with him every waking moment of the day, because Boaz knows you have a future that you have to plan and build. And that way, when you guys come together, you're already one and he's one.
Wow.
So that's something to keep in mind. But anyhow, I moved to where he was to be with him. And immediately when I got there, I saw more signs from him getting abusive, as far as emotionally tearing me down. I guess you could say mentally making me believe and feel like I wasn't good enough, or that if I left him, no one else would want me, things of that nature. And I ignored those signs, thinking, oh, we'll be okay. No relationship is perfect. Everything's going to be all right. We'll work it out. And so, of course, time progressed. Our relationship continued. He asked me to marry him.
Now, were you still in school, or did you drop out when you moved with him?
I dropped out. Well, I finished, I graduated and got my 2-year degree, my associates. But at that time, I never continued. I just stopped.
Now, did he kind of prompt you to, hey, go ahead and get your bachelor's, get your master's and things like that?
Not really. He would talk about it and tell me how, it's something that I should probably do once we can do it, once we're financially able to do it. Because at the time, the job that he had, and actually I found out still has, wasn't all that great. But he refused to get another job or go somewhere better to make a better life for us.
Okay, so he had you not finish, move with him out of state, and then it turned to, although you weren't married, it turned to we're in a better place. Not you're in this place, I'm in this place. Now it's we're in a place. Instead of, as a guy, we want to help me. You could probably be a lot better help with a better education and more help to bring to the table. So, yeah. His
biggest thing was, he did try, I will give him credit, he tried to move to where I was, but his job wouldn't transfer him. And like I said, he really didn't want to do anything else. So that's why I moved to where he was, because his ultimatum to me was, if you don't move here, our relationship is over. And my biggest thing was, well, I want to be loved, and I feel like this man loves me, so I'm going to do what I need to do,
Okay.
To make this work, what I need to do. I'll say that again.
Parents' wills and against everybody's will, because you needed love, or you felt the need for love so bad.
There you go.
This was the one who showed you the most love.
There you go.
So you were willing to do whatever it took to hold on to that type of love.
Even if it meant moving out of my parents' home, where I didn't have to pay bills and wasn't financially burdened, I was gonna go off and make a life with this man.
Now, is this something that the man sat down and spoke with your father, like, I would
Oh,
like to
no.
marry your daughter?
No.
Is that something that you think he would have done, or is just that?
No, he wasn't that type of guy. because him and my parents didn't really get along, they didn't connect, because coming from a Caribbean household, and I'm sure it's in the African American community too, because you just kind of know. My mother had that gut feeling about him, and she shared that with me. But I always took it as, oh, she just doesn't think that anyone is good enough for me.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, oh, she's just being a mom. There's no one out there that's ever going to be good enough. I spent the first 4 years of my life in a hospital. I had many other, medical issues. I was told I could never do this, never could do that. So therefore, I was like this little gift to my parents, and so no one was ever going to be good enough for me, no matter what. So I didn't listen to mommy and daddy, because they had already prejudged him just by the fact that it wasn't them.
You're right.
He wasn't them, so he could never take care of me the way they could.
I don't think that's a good feeling to have as a dad and as a parent, that I want you to take better care of my child than I'm doing. And that's just how we get better from generation to generation. You're not really supposed to go down. If anything, go across. Be lateral, but not.
Well, I went down, because there were many of times we got into arguments, and I would tell him, "You're not like my father," and he would get upset and ask me, "Well, what, you think your father's better than me?" And I would tell him, "Yes."
Yeah.
Yes. You can't take care of me the way my father can take care of me, and you're not treating me even half as good as my father. But again, I didn't pay attention to those signs, and I continued. I accepted his proposal of marriage, and literally maybe about a few weeks or even months, I can't remember too much. My daughter is now 6. I found out I was pregnant. And I thought I could never have kids.
Wow. So you might have saw, oh, God is blessing me.
And that's exactly what I thought. Oh my goodness, this is a sign from God. We're supposed to be together. He is blessing me right now. He's blessing us right now. He just proposed to me. Now we're about to have a family. So yeah, no, it wasn't a blessing from God. It was more of a catch-22, because it only actually made things worse. And the way things got worse was, number one, he started talking about me having an abortion. Now, with the fact that I was told I could never have kids, and here I am with my miracle baby.
You didn't want to have an abortion.
Oh, no. No. And I told him even before that, there was a chance that I could not get pregnant. However, if I ever did, abortion's not in my vocabulary. Right. And he agreed to that, and he said he understood. But at the time that I got pregnant, we were always fighting, arguing. Relationship was going from bad to worse. And he looked me in my face and told me, we don't need a kid right now. And so I gave him 2 options. I said, either you could stay and we could work it out and parent this child and, work on our relationship, or you can go your separate ways, and I would never ask you for a dime of child support. We would just act like you never existed. Wow. And that'd be that. He took the first option. He said he's going to stay. He's going to try to make it work. And I was happy, of course. I'm trying to make this relationship work. My parents are still together. So I don't know what a broken home is. Never seen it except in the movies and TV. So I stayed. Thought everything would be okay. He continued to accuse me of cheating. Things got worse. I actually ended up in a hospital maybe 2 or 3 times because of stress that was affecting me and the baby. And I tried my best not to tell him about it, because I didn't want him to feel, I guess you could say, bad, to feel like he was harming me and or the child, which he probably knew he was, because he kept accusing me and I kept cussing and yelling and carrying on. But I didn't want to make things worse.
So you're still protecting him throughout all of this.
There you go. That's just who I am as a person. So anyway, we continue. It gets to the point where I guess my body couldn't take it anymore. My daughter came 6 weeks early. That was another downfall. And why I say downfall for our relationship specifically is because once she came, I decided I was going to stay in the hospital with her. I told the doctors if my daughter wasn't going home, neither was I. My daughter spent a month and 3 days in the NICU. So therefore, I spent a month and 3 days in the hospital. And that was a problem for him.
Staying in the hospital was a problem for him?
Yes.
You staying or him staying?
No, me staying. Okay. Because I stayed in the hospital. He didn't. He couldn't get maternity leave or paternity leave in a man's case. He couldn't get that. So what he had to do was just visit back and forth. Whereas I had maternity leave. Clearly, I'm the one who had the baby. So I could stay. And I chose to stay in the hospital with my baby. My brand new baby, who is now going to have to spend time in the hospital because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her at the time. Because she would not go to the bathroom like normal babies do.
Yeah.
Right. She didn't pass her first meconium, and the doctors couldn't figure out why. So I told him, if she doesn't go home, I'm not going home. And that was an issue with him because he's telling me I'm not spending enough time with him, and he misses me, and he wants to see me, and so on and so forth.
And are you still with the baby's father?
At this time, yes.
Now, I'm saying,
Oh,
present
now.
day, are you still with him?
No, definitely not. No, things escalated to the point where he got so upset in an argument that we had once my daughter came home. He was holding her on his lap, and he went to throw a remote control at me. And
Did
while
you not want to change the channel, or what was it? What
No.
made him throw the remote at you?
Actually, we were arguing about us moving back to Florida so that way we could have a better life. Moving back to Florida because there was more opportunity for me there, and I could take my degree and transfer it to a school there and better us as a family now, being that we had this newborn baby and we had his son at the time was living with us. So we had 2 kids to raise, 2 kids to take care of. And I told him, instead of me working this little call center job that I had, I wanted more for myself. I wanted to take my communications degree and use it. And I guess that frustrated him because maybe he couldn't transfer his job. Maybe he didn't want to transfer his job. I don't know really why it got to the elevation that it did, but he threw the remote.
So you were on a different channel in life as him. So he wanted to hit you with the remote to make you kind of get on his page.
I assume so, because when he threw that remote, I guess he thought I was just going to, figure it out.
Right.
And it was all going to make sense.
What happened when he threw the remote?
He threw the remote, and when he threw the remote, I watched my daughter roll to the edge of his lap.
And how old was she at this point?
She had to have been, this was in the end of August. She was born in March, so April, May, June, July. She was about 5 months old.
Okay.
So when I watched her roll to the edge of his lap, that was the breaking point for me. Wasn't even the fact that he threw the remote, because remember, he had done things before, punch walls, kick walls, punch things that were right behind me. It wasn't even that. It was watching my daughter and putting her in a harmful situation. That's when I finally said, enough is enough.
Okay. So it wasn't so much of what he was doing to you.
Yes.
It was more of what he was doing to the child.
Yep. Yes. And during that time, she screamed and hollered and cried like no other, and it really scared me.
Okay.
That whole thing, that whole situation just it scared me beyond belief. Today he throws a remote, tomorrow it could be a knife or a gun.
Right. It always escalates.
Right. And I had to think about that, and like we said, the safety of my child. So I locked myself in the room. When he went to work the next day, I literally got all the things that belonged to my daughter and everything that I could get to fit in my little 95 Honda Civic DX, jumped on the road, and I ended up here in Georgia.
So this was the second time that your daughter saved your life. The first time, you could say that when your house was broken in, everybody was at the hospital, so you weren't there. Had you been there, we don't know what may have happened. The second time is this relationship is getting violent, it's escalating, and because she could have been at harm, you made a decision to leave, which really could have saved both of y'all's life. So she's a lifesaver in this point.
Yes, actually, yes. And it's funny that you call her a lifesaver, or an angel, many people would say, because I have a picture of her in my womb where the amniotic fluid looks like angel wings, and she looks like she's about to take flight.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So where'd you go from this place in that car?
I drove to Georgia. I was actually on my way back to Florida, where my family's originally from, where I grew up. But in the fact that I, at the time, was maybe about 27, 28, I can't remember exactly. I just had a baby. I'm a woman now.
You're right.
It wouldn't have made sense for me to go back home with this child. And I had never lived on my own. I've lived with roommates and other family members other than my parents. But I said, I need to become a woman. I need to grow up. I'm now a mother. And if I'm going to teach my child independence and show her how to be a woman, I need to be a woman myself. So I decided to stay here in Georgia. I got a little 1-bedroom apartment over in Union City. And I was able to go to school, get my CNA license, and make a little, I guess you could say, home for her and I, a little life for us.
So what would you say to ladies, young or old, who may be in an abusive relationship, and the only reason that they'll stay is because they don't feel like they have the funds or the means or the resources to leave. So, they just stay out of convenience.
I would say don't stay. Your child and you, of course, life and safety is way more important. I left where I was with about $150 to my name. I didn't even have it on me at the time. It was coming in my next check. I probably had enough money for gas, maybe about 20, 30 bucks for gas to get here. And that's all that I had. So I took some snacks from the house, of course, little things like that to keep me and her good. I was breastfeeding, so I didn't really need formula and all that for her. I just had to stop, pump, let her drink. That was that. But either way, finances is not the biggest concern. God will provide. Look to him, talk to him, pray with him, ask him to help you, ask him to show you a way. I didn't know what I was going to do that day. All I knew is I had to get away because I was concerned for our safety. And that's what I did. I woke up. Like I said, when he left the house, I finally came out the room, and it's like it hit me. Go. Of course, I had my mother talking to me and helping me through it, but she was like, just pack your car and go.
So at this point, you're more like Abraham on the side of Be the Ram, where God told him just to go up the mountain and I'll provide a sacrifice that God will provide. And he went up with Isaac, and it was already waiting for him. So you're in the position of your life where he said go, and you didn't question God. You just went.
I had to go because, like I said at the time, it was more so concerned for safety of me and my child. So I had to go. God said go. I just went, and he took care of the rest. I got my CNA degree. I didn't have to pay for school. The WIA, which is a great program here in the state of Georgia, paid for everything from my books to my my scrubs and my little bag, my laptop, everything. The WIA paid for everything. I got my CNA license. Through getting my CNA license, I was able to get a better job. I started off here in the state of Georgia. My first job was at McDonald's. And through McDonald's, I met some wonderful people. One of them is actually one of her godmothers. Her grandmother used to babysit her and watch her when I went to school and left school and went straight to work, and vice versa. So God will provide.
So when God says go, go.
Please, women, go. When God tells you to go, you get that gut feeling. Your mama, your sister, your best friend, whoever tells you go, it's usually coming from God, and you need to listen. He will provide and take care of all your needs. I guarantee it.
So now you've left your the father of your child, your young daughter, and you're going down to beautiful Georgia. So I'm assuming now you met your Boaz, right?
No.
Oh, wow. So there's more to the story.
There's a lot more to the story. About a year after being here and finally deciding to take an opportunity to kind of branch out and, start dating again, I met a gentleman who swept me off my feet. I thought everything was perfect and it was wonderful. And of course, again, I fell short.
Wow.
He was not Boaz. He was the complete opposite. He too became abusive. And I can recall one time, as a matter of fact, my daughter had to have been 2 or 3 years old, and he choked me in front of her to the point where...
In front of your daughter?
In front of my little daughter and his daughter, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
They were both sitting down having dinner. He and I got into a heated debate. He was upset. He threatened to have his baby mother fight me. And
so your boyfriend is going to have his baby mama fight you, his girlfriend.
Exactly. And I got upset because I was, how are you doing that? I'm the woman that you're supposed to be loving and wanting to be with, because at this point now he's telling me we're going to get married. He's never met a girl like me, da 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 da. And I'm like, well, how are you sitting here threatening me with her? But I got upset and enraged. And I was like, well, you could bring her. I don't care. I don't care if you want to tell her to come, da 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 da. And I had a plate in my hand, and the plate dropped. And he says, I don't remember this, but he says when the plate dropped, it shattered and a piece of it hit me.
Wow.
So his reaction was to choke me.
To protect you or just to choke you? Also, the plate cracked and hit him.
That's what he says. I don't recall that, but that's what he says.
And it's so crazy that you say that, because when I met my wife, she had just heard a sermon from Dr. Brown Hare, a pastor at our church, and she spoke about cracked plates in your life. And the cracked plate was the plate that you reached in the cabinet before you got the fine the fine plates. So what she was trying to do is call me a crack plate. She said because I had been divorced, I had 2 kids, and I was a pretty good guy, I like to think. But she said, well, since you have all these issues, you're clearly a crack plate. You're not my silverware for my fine dining, and I'm going to sit down at the table. So it's odd that you said in this relationship that there was a cracked plate that led to you being choked. So in reality, where you thought that this guy was your Boaz in Georgia, he was really your cracked plate. And it was a cracked plate that showed you that he wasn't Boaz.
Oh, yeah, because once that happened again, I said, okay, time to go. And I completely got out of that.
So now you're going twice.
There you go.
So you left wherever, and you had to leave, middle of the day, kind of ran off. And now you come down to Georgia, and you meet another cracked plate. So at this point, are you at, a point in your life where, why even try anymore?
Yes, I did get to that point. I did.
So why didn't try anymore? And now we're talking about Boaz, and a lot of times we don't think about the person that Boaz was with, which was Ruth. And do you know how Ruth and Boaz met, or how they became? It was because of Naomi. And Naomi was Ruth's mother-in-law. And Naomi was actually kindred to Boaz. They were somewhere in the family. They were related. So Naomi had sons, and they were married. And she had a husband. She was married. And she had Orpah as a daughter-in-law and Ruth. Now, her sons died. There was a famine in the land. Her sons died. Her husband died. So at this point, I have these 2 ladies who are widows now. We're all widows, so it's like 3 women who are hurt, in pain, don't really know what to do with their life. Naomi, as a woman with wisdom, she tells the younger lady, I have nothing for you. My sons are gone. Even if I have more sons, by the time they're of age to be of help to you, then you're going to be old. So the best thing you can do right now is leave. So I'm sure at that point, it's kind of like parallel to your story. The best thing that you can do after all these crack plates is just hightail it. I should just go back home to my mother's house, admit that I failed, admit that I needed, the advice. I should have listened. Have all your friends and family say, I told you not to go in the first place. You should have listened to me. But Orpah, she took that option and she left. And we don't hear from Orpah again. We don't know if she went on and met, a different kind of Boaz. We just don't know. The story didn't follow her. But Ruth said, no, I'm going to be loyal to you, Naomi, because you were the one there for me in the beginning. So I think you're kind of showing us the qualities of a Ruth. And we all, well, not me, but we all as in females want a Boaz, but we're not necessarily having the qualities of a Ruth. Ruth she was loyal, which you showed loyalty to your child. You didn't put your own needs in front of your daughter. And there are a lot of women that will say, I know that this man is either molesting my child, they're beating him, they're not working, they're having a bad, environment, but, they're taking care of me. They keep me with a nice purse, some heels, my hair gets done, my nails get done. So there's no loyalty to the child. The loyalty is actually to the man. So you're showing that that quality of a Ruth type woman with the loyalty. Ruth also was a worker. When Naomi and they got together, like, hey, we got to work. So Ruth went in the field and worked. So that's another quality. You said, you were working then, you were working now.
Yep.
And when you got to Georgia, you took a job at McDonald's. Now there's a lot of women who say, I ain't working at McDonald's, I just get me a man that's going to.
Oh, I had the offers, believe me.
Right. So now we have the qualities of a Ruth, and you've been meeting these crack flakes, and you're like, well, where is my Boaz? So at what point do you say, I'm done trying to find Boaz because I'm tired?
Well, to an extent, I gave up. And when I say I gave up, I stopped looking for that love. I stopped searching. I stopped putting myself in a position where I was willing to do just about anything, as in stay even when it got crazy, and you know, protect them even though they're the ones abusing me or whomever. I kind of stopped. I focused on work. I focused on repairing the relationship with my mother that I damaged through my daughter's father, of course, because her and I had a lot of headbutting and disagreeing, because she said in her heart she knew what was going to happen, because she told me, and I'll be so honest, I will never, ever, ever forget these words. My mother told me before I left to North Carolina. It was the day before I left. My mother said, there's one of two ways you're going to come back to me. And it's either going to be in a body bag or you're going to run faster than you went up there.
Wow.
And those two words stuck out to me. And I kid you not, when he threw that remote control that day, it was one of the first things that shot in my mind, because I said, today is a remote. Tomorrow it could be a gun, a knife. I could be dead.
Wow.
And I remember my mother telling me that, and it's like it came full circle.
So you said that you were focused on working and focused on yourself. And it's amazing that you say that, because in the story of Ruth, Boaz, Naomi, she stopped. You know, she didn't say, well, I'm going to go find me a husband so I can kind of get out my mother-in-law's house. Now, granted, stereotypically, a lot of mother-in-laws, especially our mother-in-laws, they're getting rid of you first thing anyway. Like, oh, I didn't like you from the jump. So
right.
now you definitely not going to be staying in my house. But she had that, you know, that they had that relationship, and she started focusing on herself. She went to work. You're saying you start focusing on yourself and you went to work. And it's just amazing how that story is parallel to each other, because now Ruth is working in the field, and here comes Boaz, this rich man, and she's in the field. I'm assuming if she's in the field, and don't get mad at me here, I'm speaking from a guy's perspective, and she's bent over picking something up, she has something back there that drew Boaz. But he didn't see it out at a club, he didn't see it at a party, he seen it working. It's like he's walking, just imagine a rich man walking. Oh, wait, hold up. Who is this? I got to know, hey, like, who is this? Who is she? She looked too good to be working at McDonald's. She looks too good to be working in. Why is she working in my field? Why is she not with me? So at that point, you're working, she's working, and God's working at the same time.
There you
Instead
go.
of you trying to figure out how you're going to figure it out, you just went to work. You start doing your thing, and while you're working, he's already working things out in your favor, just like Ruth. So now Ruth is here, and she goes back. She knows that she's been noticed. So she asks her mother-in-law, Naomi. And just like you had to go back to a wise woman. So what this is kind of telling us, that you want to make sure that you have older women and women of wisdom in your circle that can feed you in times of hunger. That's not going to give you some, some junk. Say, oh, this is what you do.
There you go.
A lot of women, if they were to come say, I got this rich guy, what do I do to get him? First thing they're going to say, get in the bed with him. But that is not what Naomi told Ruth. Naomi told Ruth, just lay at his feet. So Boaz is in bed, sleep, laying down, and he wakes up. And there's a woman, not in bed with him, but down by his feet. So I'm sure he's like, wait, hold up. This that same chick from the other day that I've been trying to get. And now she's in my bedroom, and she's at my feet. She didn't hop in bed with me. So now he's thinking how much more of a quality woman this is, because she could have easily jumped in bed. I'm rich. I own all this. I'm a little bit older. So now I have this young, fine woman with some quality and substance about herself. So he actually went and started working things out. He wasn't next in line in his family that would have married Ruth. So he had to do a little trickery of himself. And he had to go, I don't know if it was sell something, or he had to make some type of trade-off. I think they exchanged the slipper, which was a sign that says, you have the rights, but I'm in place for you now. He either gave up land or something. But he ended up getting her, and in your situation, I think what that is saying is that while a lot of women in your situation, I'm tired of trying to do it the right way, I'm gonna trick somebody. I'm gonna find me a rich white man. I'm gonna find me an old ball player, and I'm gonna trap him. I already got one kid. You know, I'm gonna go get me another one. That's gonna be the trap. This is my trickery. But what this story is telling us is that you don't have to do all of that.
Nope.
All you have to do is go when God says go. Be ready. Be patient. Start working on yourself. Becoming a better person, and Boaz is gonna find you.
Amen.
You said earlier that I stopped looking.
Yep.
And at that point, it's really when you were saying, I stopped doing it my way. I started doing it God's way.
There you go.
After you stopped trying to do it your way and start doing it God's way, tell us what happened.
I got out of my way, started doing my own thing, going to work. Like I said, I got my CNA license. I got a decent job at a reputable old folks home, put it that way, assisted living community. And I just, like I said, I focused on repairing the relationship with my mother and I guess building the relationship with my daughter. It was just her and I, so I spent a lot more time with her. I started praying more. I found a church and started attending the church and, you know, just building life for me and her. And one day I got out of work early and I went to the car wash to wash my car.
The car wash.
And my Boaz pulled up in his nice car.
Wow.
And I'm not going to lie, the first instinct, I went back to that old mindset. Here's the Benz. I don't belong in the Benz. So when he asked me for my number, I told him no. I shot him down right away.
So you're saying no because it's too good to be true.
There you go.
Why the guy in the Benz want me?
Right.
When I know the guy in the Honda is really the one that
I'm supposed to be with.
That I'm, you know, worth. I'm worth a Honda. I'm not worth a Benz.
There you go. So I said no, this can't be for me. Something's gonna go wrong. It's not. No. He didn't stop.
He didn't stop.
He said, okay, take my number. I didn't put it in my phone. I wrote it on an old receipt with a pen.
Wow. Which means you're usually gonna throw that right away.
Basically. But something, that gut feeling told me to text him. After the car wash, I took my car to get an oil change, and I was bored. But something kept saying, you know that guy that you saw pull up? Text him. You never know where it could go. And I went ahead and started texting him. When I finally got home, I called my mom. And through the conversation he and I had, we actually got on the phone for a little bit. He did tell me that he had a Facebook and he wanted to find me. He found me. We became friends on Facebook. My mother, I spoke to her about it, getting that wisdom. That's my mother. I let her look at his Facebook page. She went on.
So she did her investigation.
She did a little investigating. She did. And she instantly told me, this is the man you're going to marry. And I was like, I just met him today. What are you talking about? Wow. She said, oh, you going to marry this man. Give him your number, talk to him, go out with him, get to know him. She said, from what I can see, in the words of a Caribbean woman, she said, my spirit takes him. Wow. I was like, what you mean? You only seen his pictures. You've never even had a conversation with this man. She said, this is the man you're going to marry.
So isn't it kind of amazing how you went to a car wash and you met your Boaz and you decided to give him a chance when you're getting oil change. And if you think about it, not being too deep, but you go to a car wash to wash away old things.
There you go.
So you had to kind of wash away an old mindset, old, you know, I'm a Honda when I'm really a Benz or a Porsche mindset.
Right.
And once you cleared that mindset out, your Boaz was waiting right there. But even with a renewed mind, which God says we need a renewed mind, we got to, you know, renew our mind daily, because it keeps getting filled up with old things. Even with that renewed mind, you still wasn't ready to give yourself a chance to have a better life. It took you going to get your oil changed. And as you know, with cars, if you don't, you know, keep the oil good, then nothing else is going to work. And it's kind of like you get anointed by the oil. When the oil is on you and it flows from the top of your head to the crown of your feet, when that anointing is on you, there's nothing that you can do to get it off you. It's like a glow. And your mother looked at his Facebook page and said, that's the one. So it's kind of like the oil is, you know, kind of like a reference to the thing that was on his life that your mother saw. And it was a, you know, a thing, and that's, you can't see, but you know it's there. There's just something about them. So when you see somebody, oh, it's just something about that person. They're anointed just to do what they do. They don't have to try. It just works. So your mother says, this is the guy.
Yeah.
At that point, what do?
I took her advice, but I didn't jump as fast. What I did was he would ask me out, and I would tell him, sure, yeah, we'd set up a date and time. That day would come, and for whatever reason, it's like I would chicken out, and I would make up an excuse as to why we couldn't do it. Like why we couldn't go out that day, or, you know, meet up that night, or whatever the case was. So one night, he got Kevin Hart tickets.
Okay, Kevin Hart.
He got Kevin Hart.
I'd be real upset if I get some Kevin Hart tickets and.
Well, I think he got them free, he said. So,
Okay.
but he didn't tell me that at
Right,
first.
he didn't tell you that.
He let me know that later. But he let me know what I'm about to say later as well. He told me that the Kevin Hart tickets were the last strand. He's like,
Right.
if I told him no and we didn't meet up, then that was going to be it. Now, clearly, I didn't know.
Right.
But when he presented the Kevin Hart tickets, I was talking to my mom, I was talking to a few friends, and they were like, girl, look. This man has been running after you for a few weeks now. You keep putting him off, You need to give him a chance.
Yeah.
He looks like a decent guy. He seems respectable. He doesn't have all this foolishness on his Facebook, on his social media. He seems like a good person. He had a military background, which my mother fell in love with instantly. Because, you know, men from the military is just what it is.
Right.
And they were like, just give him a chance.
The ladies are playing hard to get for their Boaz, but don't seem to be playing hard to get for their other guys.
Broke ass.
Broke and cheap and drunk,
Cheating, lying.
all those. Add the ass to the end. So, how do you distinguish between where the point stops of playing hard to get and actually giving the guy a chance?
I would say, for us, the day that we met, and I didn't add this in, but the day that we met, we had a conversation. Like I said, I finally, you know, I texted him, so clearly he had my number. He did ask if he could call me. I let him call me. And that day, we literally spoke from probably, I'd say maybe 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, all the way till about 6, 7 o'clock the next morning.
Wow.
We were getting to know each other. And of course it was one conversation, but that conversation lasted so long. We discussed everything. So I say women should at least take the opportunity to get to know him. If he seems like a decent guy, a respectable guy, like he said, he looks like that Mercedes Benz, or he looks like that good, nice, brand new Escalade. Take the opportunity and get to know them, because he and I spoke about everything from religion to children, how we wanted to raise them, marriage, what our goals were in life, where we saw ourselves for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. We took that time to get to know each other. And again, it was one conversation, but that conversation just brought out so much.
So y'all took the time. You took the time to actually get to know him.
There you go. As much as I was afraid and I wasn't sure, I took the chance, because my mother, of course, being the person that I look to for my advice, she, you know, go ahead, talk to him, get to know him. I'm not telling you to jump in a relationship with him. I'm not telling you to marry him. I'm not even telling you to sleep with him. Just get to know him. Take your
instead
time.
of saying that, no, my Boaz is 6'4", 225 pounds with a six-pack, and a 401k, you decide to get to know this person.
Yes,
so
I did.
how many women do you think have missed out on their Boaz because they didn't know they had an idea what he looked like, and you walked right past him?
Many. I'm one of them, I'm sure. I'm very sure I'm one of them. I'm sure. But not this time. I said I'm going to take the opportunity, because he lived 5 minutes away from me. So I'm sure I've probably seen him in the grocery store. I mean, we found out we shopped in the same places. We knew some of the same people. So I'm sure he walked by me plenty of times. I may have seen him at a get-together or an event and didn't pay him any mind, because I was looking for that Honda, but over there was the Benz.
You're looking for the Honda, and he's the Benz.
Yep.
And your brain was conditioned to want one thing,
right,
when in reality what you really needed was with you the whole time.
Yep, there you go.
So you miss out on a lot of things because you have your mindset on something else.
Yep.
And you're either too frustrated, too tired, too beat down, mentally stressed to get what God has for you.
There you go.
So a lot of times we just work ourselves out of a blessing.
I was about to say, we miss our blessing. And
so at what point did you know this was your Boaz?
I honestly would like to say that night from that phone call.
From that long talk.
Because, like I said, we discussed everything from religion to children, where we saw ourselves, what we liked in a mate, what we wanted, just how we viewed the world, our families. And I think that night I literally fell in love with him.
Wow.
On the phone.
So you can fall in love over the phone.
I agree. I'm sorry. I mean, I met him, of course, but over that conversation, and you can just feel it, how sincere someone is. You can hear it in their voice. You can hear it in how they can finish your sentences. Because a lot of things we were discussing and talking about, he would finish my sentence. Like I would say, how do you feel about so-and-so? Because this is what I feel. And before I could get a chance to finish, it's like he would just come in with the exact word, the exact things that I was thinking of, and complete it. And I'm just like, whoa. Even he said at one point, he's like, okay, this is weird.
Right. This is too good.
Right. And that's what this is too good to be true. So we took our time. Once that conversation, like I said, we completed it. I was scared. I kept on push him off. But after we had that first date, he opened the door. He bought me anything and everything I wanted. He pulled out chairs. He held my hand. He just made me feel like a woman is supposed to feel, loved, appreciated. I was the most beautiful thing to him that night. And I mean, we went to a Kevin Hart concert, so the whole city of Atlanta is there.
Wow.
And
so
here I am, plain Jane, and
he's got you. So what do you say? Because in this generation, it seems as though women have conned, chivalry as being thirsty, as being lame. If a guy's, really chasing after you, sending flowers to your job, washing your car, oh, he just thirsty, he lame,
No.
I want, Nino Brown over here. What do you say to that?
I say chivalry is what it is. It's not thirsty, it's called chivalry. If a man opens your door, if he pulls out your chair, if he pays for the whole date or even most of the date, let's say y'all been together for some time now, whatever the case is, that's chivalry. And that's what a man is supposed to do for a woman. God made women to be a helpmate to men. So men are supposed to protect us and look after us, and that's just what they're supposed to do.
So what if he's the type of man that just says, that ain't right, you grown, you open your own door?
Then he's at some point in life, he's gonna realize when he finds the right one that he's gonna have to do that for her. But at that moment, you're not her. So keep moving.
Right. So what you're saying is that based off of your upbringing and your standard of living, that's how you decide that this is my Boaz, or this is the person for me, because they meet my need. They meet, like you said, where your dad had you on this pedestal. The next guy
should do the same,
which is your future husband or whoever's dating. They have to meet that and then go up a little bit.
Yes, I agree. I completely 100%. If a man cannot treat you better than your father, or at least the way your father treated you, this is providing that your father was in your life, because mine still is. If he's still in your life and he treated you well all your life, he still does, and you're his princess, you're his sun, his moon, his earth, other than his wife, there is no other woman than you. That's how a man's supposed to treat you. And if he can't treat you like that, then he's not for you.
Now, this man that you're with or was with, what happened in this relationship?
The one
that you're with now.
Okay. Well, I mean, we continued. We got to know each other more and more. Boyfriend, girlfriend relationship turned into us getting engaged earlier this year. And now we will be married next week, Saturday.
So a week from today, you'll be a married woman.
Yes, I will. There it
got
goes.
A ring on your finger.
Yes,
and
sir.
So you went from abusive relationship to abusive relationship, and your Boaz found you. You didn't find him; he found you.
There you
and
go.
Now you're about to be a married woman.
Yes,
so basically, God didn't forget about you.
Nope.
Although you had been to hell and back in your words,
Whew.
He never forgotten about you. He always had you in his hands. And how about to the women who feel like, I have a kid, nobody's going to want me. I'm here, I'm there. I need to settle. What do you say to them, being that you're about to be a married woman?
Don't settle. There is no reason for you to settle. God is still there. He's holding on to you. He just wants you to open your eyes and see what it is he has for you. That man that's cheating on you, lying to you, hitting you, or hurting you in whatever way he is hurting you is not meant for you. God has something better, but what he needs you to do is work on yourself, get to know who you are. If you do have a child, create that relationship with the child. I didn't mention this earlier, but one of the things that my fiance said he loved about me was the fact that when he met my daughter, because he actually met my daughter before he met me.
Wow.
As I was actually vacuuming out the car, my daughter was sitting in her car seat playing with herself. She was laughing and giggling and stuff. He said he loved the fact that it's like she was always with me. She was right there with me. I picked her up, brought her with me to the car wash, and she was just having a good time. And he said if he saw a child laughing and happy like that, he had to see who it was that she was with. And once he realized it was woman, then he had to get to know this woman.
Right.
But that was something. Create that bond, build that bond with your child. Get to know your child, get to know your friends and your family. Build those relationships better, make those things better, build your communication, build who you are as a person in general. Because remember, when your Boaz comes to you, he's not just going to be coming to you. He's going to have to get to know your family. He's going to have to get to know your friends. Of course, if you're a mother, he's going to have to get to know your child. And you want all of those things intact and in a good standing, so that way when he comes, you're set, you're good to go. He's not sitting here like, oh my God, this girl's crazy. She got a crazy best friend who she's always talking behind her back, or she can't really stand in front. You don't want all of that drama in your life. So get yourself together first, and then that Boaz will come.
So the term of waiting for your Boaz has been misinterpreted, because if you think about a waiter waits. Mm-hmm. A waiter serves. Mm-hmm. If you have a waiter or a waitress at your table and they're not bringing you things, you're like, I need a new waiter.
Right.
So the term of waiting for Boaz, you're working while waiting.
Right.
You're
right,
serving God. You're serving God's people while you're waiting for Boaz.
Yep.
So in reality, she waited on Boaz in a literal sense because she was working for Boaz. Mm-hmm. So she waited, and we get the term of waiting that I'm going to sit down,
yes.
I'm going to do exactly what I'm doing now, and he's just going to fly in, drop out the sky on a white horse and fly by and scoop me up out of my mess and save me.
No.
And can you kind of help us understand that if he's Boaz, he's not coming for Jezebel. He's coming for somebody that's ready to be, a wife.
Yep.
Ready to be a Ruth.
At the time, when another thing that, as you're saying that, is coming to my memory, when my fiance met me, I had 3 jobs.
Wow.
3, not 1, not 2. I had 3 jobs, and I was still working on more, I guess you could say, licenses. I had my CNA license, but I was also doing my patient care technician and phlebotomy. So I was working 3 jobs and still going to school. Wow. And that's what made him really, he said, want to take, I guess you could say, the opportunity, because he didn't really like dating a woman with kids, but he said he could see I was different. Right. I was working, I was going to school. I wasn't asking him for money to pay for this or pay for that. I didn't want him to sweep me up my feet and, be my knight in shining armor. I was doing for me and my child. He didn't need to do anything for me. He wanted to do it because he saw that I was already doing it. I was getting myself together.
So the woman sitting at home that will refuse to get a job because of, I have a child, because I don't have time, because of this, because of that, what do you say to her?
I say to her, she's not going to get that Boaz. She's going to keep getting that broke down Honda, because again, Boaz wants a woman that he can work on a goal with, not for. Boaz wants to take care of you in the fact that he wants to love you. He wants to show you that you're beautiful. He wants you to feel like you're the only girl in the world. But if you are not doing for yourself trying to improve yourself daily, trying to make your situation better, you can't expect Boaz to just come in and save you, because that's not Boaz and that's not what he's going to do.
In this generation, people have kind of watered down marriage, saying that you don't need to get married, you don't need to do this. So what makes you take this next step of getting married instead of just shacking up, and in case things go bad, you can take off again?
Well, again, getting back to God and his plan for us, and even, you know, sitting down talking to my mother and older couples, you know, marriage is a commitment that you make between a man and a woman who love each other, who want to go through life together, helping each other. It's a partnership. So therefore, it's ordained by God, and it's seen as, I guess you could say, something more meaningful than just shacking up together. And like you said, if things don't work out, because with marriage, you're not thinking about, oh, if things don't work out. With marriage, you're making the commitment. Right. This is who I want. This is who I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. And that's the point that we're at in our lives. We see that we love each other so much to the point that we want to have a child. We want to go through life with each other. So we are going to show and profess our love for one another before God, our family, our friends, through this ceremony. And of course, again, it's something that God wants. It's what we are supposed to do as his people.
So instead of going through this relationship with your focus on if it ends,
no,
you're going through the relationship with the focus on how can I make it better.
Yep.
And I think that's the big breakdown, is if you go into a situation looking for the negative, you're gonna find it. But if you go in and say, hey, I'm in it, I'm head over heels, I'm gonna make this thing work, you'll find more good than you will bad.
Yep. And that's something we've actually discussed, to be completely clear. Before we even discussed marriage, before we got engaged, we discussed, like, you know, okay, if we were to decide, if we decided that we were going to take the next step, we're not getting divorced. Right. Vocabulary doesn't include divorce, because once we take that step, we realize we've made that commitment. And now that we are engaged, we've discussed that, you know, okay, we're engaged, we've had a date, it's next week.
Right.
And
a week from today.
There's no splitting up. There's no, whatever issues we have, we need to sit, communicate like adults, and work it out, because we're not going anywhere. We want to be with each other, and we love each other no matter what. And that's just what it is. I think you have to sit down and be willing to understand the person that you're with, and know that this is forever. This is not if, you know, something happens, or maybe, or possibly. You have to be sure, 100%. You have to know that you can take all their flaws, they can take yours, and everything that comes along with you.
So in closing, as this webinar is out there, is getting sent off into the cloud, as you would say, whether it's 1,000, 200,000, 2 million people, women, young men, older women, whoever is watching this right now, and we're making it now, but it could be 10 years from now before it falls on your laptop, your computer screen, your phone screen. What would be the one wisdom nugget that you would give to a lady who's in your situation, rather have been in the abusive relationship, getting out of the abusive relationship, or going into a marriage and you've been through all of that?
Don't count yourself out. Just know that God is there. He is going to always be there, but it's for you to listen to him and listen to his voice and understand whatever it is that he's trying to tell you, because he's there. You just got to listen.
So being the ram, which we're, being that thing in the bush, that help, that last chance, you were already being the ram, before we had this. You wrote a book.
Yes, I did. I took my abusive relationship experiences and I put it into a fictional, I guess you could say, short story. And it's basically, the main character is Lisa, and her boyfriend at the time is Matthew. And it just talks about what they went through to get to where they are now.
So make sure that you support the book. There'll be a link below that you can click on and you'll have access to the book. And you're also doing another hustle. And what would be that? Like, you have more jobs than me. So, but you are from an island somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And that's what
My
y'all
family's,
work.
yes.
So, what is
yes.
the other hustle that you have going on?
I sell paparazzi jewelry, $5 jewelry.
Paparazzi, it's like people taking pictures of you?
No, it's $5 nickel-free, lead-free jewelry. I'm wearing a set now. The earrings comes with a matching necklace, and everything is $5.
So is it cheap or is it just a great deal?
Oh no, it's a great deal. Like I said, it's nickel-free and lead-free for those of you who are sensitive to costume jewelry. And there's actually pieces for every occasion. And next week, I will be wearing some at my wedding.
All right, so if you want some of this $5 jewelry to support Miss Ebanks, which we could say for 6 more days, Miss Ebanks, you can click the link below and get some of her jewelry. And that would be a way of, instead of us asking for money, she doesn't get paid. She's giving us about 2 hours total of her time. If you want to help out with this new marriage, if this webinar has blessed you in any way, if it has blessed anyone that you may have known, make sure you share it, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support her financially, just buy some of the $5 jewelry. It's not like I'm asking for an offering. You buy this, you get something out of it, and she gets blessed into making.
Thank you.
So if you have any questions, just comment below and I'll make sure that she gets it. If you want to talk to her personally, comment below. I'll make sure she gets that information too. I really appreciate you for coming out. This is webinar number 5. Who knows how many down the road, and they'll look back and say, I remember number 5 with Ebanks, and she really helped me out. So I thank you, and I appreciate your fiance for allowing you to come out and be with this weird guy, Coach Mac, that he's never met, and I'm just going to let my woman go off and get on a camera for 2 hours with. So I do appreciate all of that. Thank you. I hope you have a long, blessed marriage. Even if it comes a point in your marriage where you're ready to quit, you can go back and watch this, and it'll remind you of all the things that, hey, I remember that long talk. I remember the fact that, I was with some other ass, and I met Boaz at a car wash. So I had to, wash away my mind. So I may have to rewash my mind or change my oil of my heart and my spirit and all of those things. So thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you all for watching, and make sure you subscribe.
I'm Lauren that everybody been talking about. Congratulations on the wedding, Mommy and Daddy.
All I wanna do is worship, because you've been so good to me. All I wanna do is worship, because you've given me